What is going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. You're looking here at a chart of the S&P 500. This is a CFD. The ticker on TradingView is SPX 500 US dollar. Now, whether you're trading the ES, the SPX, the SPY, this analysis, this technical analysis that we're going to go through right now should really give you quite an advantage going into next week. First, let's check out what happened this past week. Check out the weekly candle, and you can see we were up about 124 points. Pretty big move on the S&P this week. Very bullish. We're going to get into some interesting facts. We have a thread here on the unemployment rate versus stocks. A really, really important thread that I want to share with you here. And before we do that, let's drop down to the daily time frame. There's a couple of things that I want to show you in this video. We have a little bit more time than normal being on Saturday, so we're going to take our time with this. I want you to first get just this overview of what's going on over here, okay? Now, this little neckline I have over here, this trend line, I should call it. Let me drop down to the 4-hour and give you a better look, okay? You could see over here, this trend line has been tracking. Over here, it was resistance, resistance. Now it's become support, and now it's become support. This is a very important area in the market. As long as we're above it, we definitely have a strong bullish bias. I want you to take a look at something over here on the daily time frame now. Here's that trend line I just showed you. Now look over here. Many of you who've been following the channel are familiar with this trend line. Let me go ahead and make it a little darker for a moment. All right. Now, if we were to break this neckline over here, look what will happen next week. At the same time, we would be challenging this trend line that goes back up towards right around January 24th of 2020, connected down here. And on the way down, I use this as a resistance to know when I could lean against. Until we broke over here. Since we broke, it has held us support. Once we trade back below this neckline, it looks like we will be testing this trend line once again. When that happens, we'll bring that back into the picture. We don't need to focus in on that right now. We don't need to focus in on it right now. Right now, we need to focus on this. Right now, above this trend line over here, we are very much bullish. We're coming into some nice resistance all the way up at 29.72 next week. Looks like it's gonna be in play. We'll take a look at all that. We'll come back to that. We'll look at what our plan is going forward next week, what levels we're looking for on Monday. We'll take a look at all that first. I do want to show you this chart over here. This is the unemployment rate versus stocks. A lot of people right now, it just doesn't add up. They don't understand how unemployment could be at record highs and the stock market is going up. And it's actually really simple. We've been talking about this. You just have to follow the money supply. This is a chart from Bloomberg. It's showing the S&P 500 over here in black versus the proxy of money supply, global money supply over here in purple. And notice one thing over here. Notice over here during the crash, you could see the global money supply had dropped. And then since then, as the Fed has printed $4 trillion, as the Bank of Japan, another trillion, look at what has happened over here. Global money supply rising, and hence the markets are as well. That's why today when you saw such a bad non-farm payrolls print, the market reacted positive to it. It's simply because the market expects further stimulus. That is what you have to key off right now. The S&P 500, the equity markets, are not reflective of the economy itself. They're reflected of the global money supply. You have to follow the liquidity. All right? Before we get back into the charts on the S&P 500, there's something else that I really want to show you because we are now 3 days away from the Bitcoin halving. This is a thread by Raoul Pal, the founder of Real Vision. Excellent, excellent, excellent content. You can find them on YouTube, Real Vision. And Raoul, for the past 12, 15 months, has been all over the macro. Completely had his pulse on everything that is happening. And here he's pointing out what is going on with Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin's halving is just in 3 days. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about that in just a moment. Now, legendary investor Paul Tudor Jones, just on Thursday, Bloomberg did an article that he said that Bitcoin reminds him of the gold market back around 1976, right before it went hyperbull. Paul Tudor Jones, $5.1 billion net worth, legendary investor. I've looked up to him my whole career. I've studied every quote I could find of his. I've seen his documentary called, I forgot if it's called Trader or Trading. Anything I could find my hands on, Paul Tudor Jones, I've listened to and study. He, back in December of 2018, when the Fed actually hiked the interest rates, he said, now's the time to buy gold. This will be the last hike the Fed has made. They made a mistake. From here in, they're going to have to cut. Sure enough. All right, listen, look what Raul is pointing out over here. This is a chart of Bitcoin. You're looking at a perfect triangle over here, and it's breaking out on his chart over here. That's on the Bloomberg. Now, mine on Bitstamp, it's not yet breaking out. The breakout will be 10,400, right around that level right now. But he says this gives you a price target of around $40,000 using a classic charting technique. However, the perfect wedge on a log chart. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful over here, bullish wedge pattern over here. And he said that this could potentially, keyword potentially, run to $1 million. Bitcoin's trading about $10,000 right now. He's talking about it trading up to $1 million. Let's take a look at this. This is a perfect regression channel. This gives one standard deviation move to $40,000 and a two standard potential to 1 million. All right. Now, he goes on to say that whatever plays out after a key technical break, the probability of vastly higher prices has risen dramatically. He talks about this being confirmed by Plan B's stock to flow model. If you don't know what that is, if you don't know what the halving is, just hang out with me 1 second. He goes on to give why right now is the perfect storm for Bitcoin, as Paul Tudor Jones also touched on in the Bloom article. He goes on to say, even though this is one of the best setups in any asset class that he's ever witnessed, technical, fundamental, flow of funds and plumbing all happening right now. Again, to be clear, even if it has 90% odds, it doesn't mean it's definitely going to work. There is risk in everything. And he added that it could be wrong, often and dramatically. Expect horrific volatility both up and down. Now, during the coming bull market, Bitcoin's about to enter, as the halving is 3 days away, 2 days from when you're watching this. You should expect 30% drawdowns on the price of Bitcoin. Now, on the channel over here, I'll include this in the description below right now. This is a playlist I've put together on Bitcoin. These are extremely well-researched and presented videos. Anyone who spends 12 minutes watching this video will have a better understanding of the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin, both the bull phase of it and the bear market phase of it, as well as what the halving is. Anyone who watches this 12-minute video, any room they walk into will have a better understanding of Bitcoin. That's not the only video. There's a few videos under it, right? What price will you sell your Bitcoin during the next bull market? Do watch this video. The price of Bitcoin set to rise into the halving, and then what happens to miners after Bitcoin halving. Watch all of these videos and you will have more information on the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin, what the halving is, what expectations, the stock to flow model. Also, this one, is Bitcoin still a good investment? People love this video. These are absolutely a treasure. I will include them in the link for you. I bring it to your attention now. Because the halving is just 2 days away, and Bitcoin is becoming more scarce than gold. Now, let's get into the S&P. Let's get into the charts. Let's get into what we love. So, we were watching out early in the week. We posted a video a couple of days ago on whether a potential head and shoulders is forming. Okay? Now, we didn't say a head and shoulders is forming. We asked the question, is a potential head and shoulders forming? And perhaps it still is. Is that the left shoulder? Is that the head? Could we roll over into this resistance over here early next week and put in a right shoulder? It's all entirely possible. But the thing is, until this trend line that we are tracking, and above it, we have a strong bullish bias following the money supply. Now, this is also the neckline for the possible head and shoulders. And the trigger is not actually until you get the break of the neckline. All right? So we'll keep monitoring that. We'll keep watching it. Whether or not it's a head or shoulders or not, this neckline, this trend line is what is relevant. And we're going to definitely keep watching that. Now, we are coming up. I want to show you something else. Come with me down to the 1 hour time frame. All right? Maybe the 2 hour. I'm going to go ahead and clone this trend line, okay? So I'm going to right click it, and then I'm going to press clone. Now this is giving me another trend line using the exact same angle. Now look what happens if I put it over here. Do you see that we have these touches over here where this has acted as support? Over here, a little bit higher. Again, over here, it's acting as support, and then it's support again right here. Look, here it was resistance. And again here, it acted as support. Interesting, right? So what happens, the question is, then what happens if I'm looking for resistance above next week? I'm bullish on the market, but I'm seeing if this offers me any guidance to perhaps something the market is keying off of, right? Actually, you could see it right here. You could see here, let me zoom in for you. You could see here, this was resistance. Now it's acting as support. Again here, it was resistance, flip to support. Here again, it's resistance, support. And here we are. We closed right in on it. Interesting, right? I don't know how much credence I give it. I am going to make that very light on the chart just so we together could follow that together early next week and see if that's offering us any guidance and any help. Look how light I put it. It's there. We know it's there. We're going to see what happens. Now, the big levels we have to watch out for next week. Again, we took a couple of tries to get above 28.89. That resistance has now been flipped to support. We got support at 28.89. We are looking, because we are in an uptrend right now, right? We are in an uptrend. Overall, we're still in a downtrend from the highs. No question about that. But off the lows so far, we're in an uptrend. We're swing traders. We're looking what's right in front of us. That's the momentum we're looking to key off of. We take trades, both swing trades and intraday trades on the S&P. I take intraday trades. I'm looking to turn into swing trades when the market gives me it. Here's what I want you to focus on. We are currently in an uptrend. More importantly, we are above this trend line, which gives us a very bullish bias over here. We're following the momentum. What's the market doing? The market's keying off of what? Of coming stimulus, right? It's not keying off the state of the economy. It's keying off stimulus. Over here right now, we now have this area of support at 28.89. Any retest of this support, that's an absolute area that we're looking for a retest to hold and for price to resume off of for any long entries. Absolutely. Now, what happens if early in the week this momentum continues? What happens if we come up and we test this resistance at 29.72? Are we looking to go ahead and to fade that resistance? I'm not looking to step in front of this market. It looks pretty healthy. If you look back at the weekly time frame with me, now it didn't make a higher high than last week. Nevertheless, it's closing at the top of the range. I'm looking for us to take out whatever stops are up here next week. I think that we're going to come up and we have the possibility of continuing this momentum and at least taking out some stops. We'll watch the price action next week if that does occur and then decide what our next move is. But I'm not looking to fade into that resistance whatsoever. Right now we have a pretty strong bullish bias here, and I have no desire to trade against that at the moment. Now, that could change, and even with the fact that I say that why above this trend line we're maintaining a bullish bias, that does not mean that we can't take sell side trades. Even though we have that overall bullish bias at the moment. All right, we could trade both ways whenever we need to, whenever the opportunity arises. Right now, going into Monday, the plan is not to trade at all. And please mark my words, those of you on the market open, as soon as the market's open, Monday in Asia, Sunday evening over in the West, and you get yourself into some trades overnight. We're standing aside over all night until the New York session. Now, the first thing that we'll do at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, a half hour before the U.S. equity markets open, is we'll evaluate what was factored in over the weekend, see where the markets opened up, see what the price action was during Asian in London, and end pre-market New York, right? We want to see what happens between 8:30 and 9. And then we will set our game plan at 9 o'clock for when the equity markets open a half hour later. The only other thing I'm including in the description today, besides the playlist on Bitcoin, is how you can be notified when we go live at 9 o'clock a.m. to do our live New York session. If you're not able to watch that live, the first thing that we always look at is the S&P 500. You can watch the replay. You could start at the beginning, and you will get an update on the S&P 500. That's always followed by Bitcoin. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Really looking forward to reading the comments in here. I gain a lot of my knowledge and insight from all of you, so I appreciate everyone who adds to the conversation. All right, everyone, have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon.